Welcome to Back to the Feature, where I watch the full movie so you don't have to. I'm your host, Dwayne, and today we're watching Motel Hell. This twisted horror comedy proves that it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. You're never going to look at smoked meat the same way again. The movie opens with local farmer and motel owner Vincent, played by Rory Calhoun, chilling on the front porch of his motel with a big old neon sign out front that reads Motel Hello, with the O blinking off and on. Pretty clever, huh? Vincent loads up his rifle, jumps in his truck, and heads off to the woods to do some hunting. He's standing near the road when a young couple on a motorcycle lose control of their bike and crash into a tree. Vincent doesn't appear to be too alarmed and takes his time getting to them. He checks the driver first and he's unconscious but still alive. Vincent loads him into the back of his truck when he hears the passenger moaning nearby. The passenger is a young woman named Terry. She's banged up and really out of it, so Vincent puts her up front with him and takes them both back to the motel. Inside, Vincent's sister Ida, played by Nancy Parsons of Porky's fame, is busy working in the kitchen. She's cheerfully making breakfast but is super confused when Vincent comes in carrying a young blonde. Vincent tells Ida somehow Terry avoided her date with the Grim Reaper and he wants to protect her. He wants Ida to help nurse her back to health, but you can tell that Ida is less than thrilled about their new guest. The next morning, local Sheriff Bruce Smith shows up at the motel. When he ventures inside, he's attacked by Ida from behind, but it turns out she's just partaking in a bit of horseplay. Terry comes walking out and asks to see Bo, her companion on the motorcycle. Vincent tells her that Bo died and he buried him already. She's obviously upset by the news, so Sheriff Bruce tries to calm her down in the most awkward and creepy way possible. When Vincent introduces the sheriff to Terry, we learn that he is also Vincent's younger brother. When Terry questions how Vincent could bury her friend without permission, Bruce covers for him. To put her at ease, they all ride out to the local cemetery so she could see where Vincent buried Bo. Sure enough, there's a cross with his name on it. Back at the motel, Terry tries to figure out what she should do next. She feels uneasy, but Vincent gently reassures her as Ida watches with a wide grin. We know that all this super kindness hides something much more sinister. That night, Bob, the local state meat inspector, comes snooping around Vincent's property. He's investigating some noises and finds Vincent's secret garden where rows of human heads poke out of the soil like crops. The victims are buried up to their necks and covered in burlap sacks. Their vocal cords have been cut so they can only let out muffled gurgles. Bob pulls the burlap sack off of one of the heads and we see it's Terry's friend Bo. He didn't die after all. Before Bob can investigate further, Vincent sneaks up behind him and hits him in the head with a shovel. Vincent is back out setting bear traps in the middle of the road. A van full of partying hippies drives down the road blasting music. And yes, that is John Ratzenberger from Cheers. The driver of the van says the drugs they're doing are too heavy and they need to find a place to crash. Just then their van comes around the corner and hits the trap, sending it rolling into a ditch. And that one might be a little too on the nose. Vincent comes down and sprays some knockout gas inside the upside down van before anyone can get out. He picks up Ida and they take the hippies to the garden. But first, Vincent has a surprise for Ida. He pulls up a burlap sack off ahead to reveal, ta-da, it's Bob. Ida loves her surprise and they both just laugh. They then set about planning each hippie up to the neck next to all the others. They take great pride in their work and even stop long enough to quote their company slogan.
It takes all kinds of critters
to make Farmer Vincent fritters.
The next day, Vincent, Ida, Bruce, and Terry are having a little picnic where Terry is getting her first taste of Vincent's smoked meats. Everyone loves the taste and Terry asks him how he got started. Vincent then tells the origin story about how his granny would smoke about anything that moved, and that one day she had him shush their old dog, and he did. And then they smoked the dog just like a hog. And he tells his story with great pride while Terry looks horrified. Ida starts to tell Terry the truth about how Vincent smokes his meat, but he punches her in the gut to shut her up. Terry and Bruce can only sit there dumbfounded. Vincent and Ida return to the garden to feed their crop. They've taped tubes with funnels to each one and just pour some slop into the funnel. They're plumping them up so they can be put to use. Bruce takes Terry on a date to the drive-in, but that means just parking on a nearby hill and watching the movie through binoculars. Cheap bastard. While they're watching the movie, Vincent is out hunting again. He stops two women, but one is able to drive off. He gives chase, but she's able to radio for help during her getaway attempt. Just as Bruce is trying to make a move on Terry, he gets the emergency call on the radio. Perfect timing too, because Terry was trying to fight off his unwanted advances. Vincent catches up to the woman who is really doing some of the worst acting here. She eventually just passes out at the wheel, which allows him to take her too. He then shoves her car into a lake and heads home with both his trophies. A couple of swingers show up at the motel, guided there by an ad they saw promoting the motel as a swinger's paradise. Vincent sets them up in a cabin and agrees to meet up with them in a bit for some swinging. While they wait, the swinging couple change into their party outfits and get oiled up. Vincent and Ida show up with some rope and the couple assumes they're into bondage and they're more than eager to play along. Until the gas comes out. Then it's game over. The next day, Vincent is heading out to do some farmer stuff and you could tell Terry is developing feelings for him, which is totally weird on so many levels. Terry gets curious and starts snooping around the smokehouse. At first glance, nothing is out of the ordinary until Ida shows up and blocks her from seeing anything she shouldn't see. You know, like the toes and fingers floating up to the surface. Knowing Terry isn't a very good swimmer, Ida takes her swimming in the pond. Everything starts off innocent as they splash around on inner tubes. But then Ida cuts her own inner tube so Terry will come save her. It's all a ruse though, just so Ida can drown her in the struggle. Thankfully for Terry, Vincent comes to save the day. When Terry comes to, she's in bed surrounded by Vincent and Ida as Ida apologizes for what happened. It was all because she was just so scared about drowning. Right. Ida leaves the room and Terry is smitten with Vincent because he saved her life. She then comes on to him, but Vincent may be a sick murdering freak, but he's got good Christian morals, damn it. He says they should be married first, which she takes as a formal proposal. Vincent then meets with Reverend Billy, played by the one and only Wolfman Jack. Reverend Billy then gives Bruce the news about the wedding. He's less than pleased to hear the news on top of having to turn over his Hustler magazine to the Reverend. You know, for proper disposal. After getting the news, Bruce hightails it to check with Terry to see if she's being forced into marrying Vincent because he's in love with her. He even tells Terry that Vincent has syphilis of the brain and his pecker don't work either. Low blow there, Bruce, low blow. Once again, Vincent comes to Terry's rescue when he walks in behind Bruce with a shotgun. All it takes is a couple of warning shots and Sheriff Bruce is getting the hell out of there. Celebrating with some champagne, Terry doesn't even notice that Ida dosed her drink. I mean, really. Her glass is the only one with green liquid when it all came from the same bottle. Not the brightest bulb. And she downs the whole glass, which knocks her out really fast. With Terry out cold, Vincent and Ida are free to do some gardening. Out in the garden, they install a weird light setup in front of 3 of the hippies. They're awake and pissed and growling a lot. Vincent uses a calm voice to hypnotize them into a trance, while Ida places a rope around their necks with the other end tied to the tractor. She floors it, causing the ropes to snap their necks. Then Vincent uses the tractor to pull their bodies out of the ground. Meanwhile, Sheriff Bruce is out actually doing some police work. First, he checks out the scene of Terry's motorcycle accident, and then he discovers a bunch of cars in the lake, including the hippie van. While Ida and Vincent take the hippies back to the smokehouse, one of the victims in the garden gets free. Bruce shows up at the house and finds Terry sleeping. She's out of it, and Bruce tells her that she's in danger, but she's not really listening. Ida returns to the house to get some ice cream when she hears Bruce talking to Terry. He tells her about all the evidence he has on Vincent, but then he's jumped by Ida. For real this time, but she just knocks him out. Now that Bo is out of his hole, he sets about freeing all of his fellow captives. As they make their way back to the motel, it's like a scene from the Night of the Living Dead. Ida has taken Terry at gunpoint to go see Vincent in the smokehouse. Terry shows some moxie and spits in Vincent's face, but he doesn't even flinch. Vincent then sends Ida to go fetch Bruce. Ida has no idea what's waiting for her though. As she makes her way back to the motel, she's attacked by the garden victims. At first she holds her own, but there's too many of them and eventually she goes down. Terry watches as Vincent hacks off the feet of one of the hippies. He explains how well he treats his stock for his meat. He tells her he's doing a good thing. There's too many people in the world and not enough food, so he's fixing both problems at once. Vincent gasses Terry and ties her down. Bo had climbed up on the roof and drops down through the skylight in an effort to save her. They fight it out, but Vincent ends up strangling him to death. Bruce finally comes to and finds Terry and his gun are gone. He grabs one of Vincent's rifles and breaks into the smokehouse where he finds Terry tied up. Just then, Vincent walks in wearing a giant pig's head as a mask and carrying a massive chainsaw. This image was both horrifying and iconic. He fires up the chainsaw and Bruce can only stand there with a what the fuck look on his face. Bruce grabs a chainsaw off the wall, and now that the brothers have the same weapon, it's more of a fair fight. To add suspense, the table Terry is tied to leads to a running cutting saw. Now Bruce has to win this fight before Terry gets split down the middle. The two brothers face each other like gladiators in an arena of meat. The pig head makes Vincent look less like a man and more like a butcher demon. Terry comes to just in time to see her predicament. She's yelling for Bruce to help her, but he's kind of got his hands full dealing with Vincent. Bruce suffers a couple of cuts, but keeps fighting back until Vincent eventually makes a mistake. Bruce gets his blade caught in a beam and Vincent didn't see it there and ends up walking right into it. You can't see shit through that pig mask. That pretty much takes the fight out of Vincent. They immediately stop trying to kill each other and go back to being brothers. Bruce is horrified at what happened but quickly turns to go rescue Terry. They go back to help Vincent, but his wound is fatal. He tells Bruce that he can have the motel and the secret garden. Vincent then gives his deathbed confession and tells them that he's the biggest hypocrite of them all because he used preservatives. Bruce and Terry hear a scream that leads them to the secret garden. They find a burlap sack sitting on the ground covering something. Bruce pulls the sack up and reveals 2 legs sticking up in the air. The garden victims planted Ida in the garden upside down. Back in front of the motel, Terry tells Bruce he should just burn the whole place down to the ground because it's evil. Then the O in the neon sign goes out for good. 1980s Motel Hell carved out its own twisted corner of horror comedy history. With chainsaws, buried victims, and Farmer Vincent's pig mask, it became a cult classic. It's campy, gruesome, and disturbingly charming all at once. If you've enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help grow this channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and hope you will come back for the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.